Great. Okay. Welcome. Let's start. Standing up. Standing to face the short end of our mats. Let's get this thing really effective from the get-go. So we're going to stand and face the short end of our yoga mats, about the length of our foot away from the end of the mat, in the incredibly beneficial Tadasana. So standing, letting go of tension that pulls the shoulders forward, so pectoralis, but let's go deeper as well, into the subscapularis. So the front face of the shoulder blades. The front face of the shoulder blades. Now relaxing them is a subtle thing. It's a subtle thing. And of course, you can't relax your body without relaxing the breath, without releasing the mind. And sometimes we resist releasing the mind because we're attached to pet peeves, views and opinions, ideas and ideals. So to be effective in releasing the subscapularis on the front face of the shoulder blades, if you went from the front of the body towards the back, you'd meet the subscapularis in that little subscapularis fossa, which pretty much occupies the whole front face of the shoulder blade. So see if you can tune in on that which releases the subscapularis. And see if you notice any resistance to releasing anything else. That's okay. Worries. Physical. Some of these attachments are physical, aren't they? Just physical attachments. Raise your arms up when you're ready. Out to the side or straight ahead, depending on how much room you've got. Tone the tummy reiteratively until you feel pelvic floor support. So we call it mula, root, adhara, support. And it's essentially nudging or supporting energy moving into the visceral center. So we're getting an immediate sense of being centered. We can talk about Advaita, non-dualism, or it literally means not two. And we can read about Buddhism and Shaivism and whatever else we want. But the effective, direct means, and let's remember that the word hatha comes from the Vajrayana school. So Vajrayana already is direct. And then the hatha splinter group within the Vajrayana is super direct, super immediate. So we want this immediate centering. So that's the pelvic floor, nudging, reminding, pushing energy unequivocally into the central channel, even if it squirms around there, sort of uncomfortable, yearning for its habituations or being called by its habituations. Eventually the energy will learn to settle in the center line and the mind will become empty as a result. Empty means not attached to anything more than anything else. Inhale, up you go. Exhale, down you go. Hands flat. That probably means knees bent. What we don't want is the back to be dull, aching or painful. For me, my knees aren't bent, but even with someone with a fairly wide range of motion, you might, as I do, want to pedal the heels or move the back. So we're melting. We're not sort of tolerating anything. If something's tense, we're finding ways for it to release on all levels. On all levels. Step back to Adho Mukha Svanasana, the downward facing dog position. Draw a couple of deep breaths. Just let them nourish you. They kind of flood in, I find. It's like a drink. It's like a cooling drink. Of course, we have this phrase that's used a lot, particularly in the Mahayana, but we find it also in earlier Buddhist schools, Dhamma Mega, meaning the mega, the cloud, the rain cloud of the truth, of Dhamma. And it's often compared to a rain cloud because it's cooling, like the rain when it comes in South Asia is cooling. It cools the hotness of the land. And it's also nourishing, and it also gives birth, gives rise. And we can say to Shakti, to karmaness, activity. So breath, movement, investigation, playfulness. We are building up strength. I think sometimes, we use the non-violent
mode as a sort of excuse to follow some skaras. But when we're strong, when we think about integrating every single fiber, you could do that in the legs, for example, by stretching the heels back and bringing more and more fibers of the quadriceps online, fiber by fiber, without any sense of being restricted by any sense of time in terms of beginnings and endings. So, you open up the door to the infinite. Well done. Bring your shoulders forwards. If you need to take your hands a little wider, I sometimes do, and then balance the wrists any way that you need to. So you can move left, you can move right, you can move forwards, you can move in circles. It's all breath based. And we're looking for integration, and strength is the same thing as that. We're going to bring one knee forwards towards its own elbow, and then back again. Regain your calm. Bring the other one forward similarly. So you can really feel the external obliques. Makes a strong impression back to where we were. Coming to kneeling, please put a block between the heels and buttocks if your knees are tight. One hand on top of the other, Vajrasana. Breathing deep, breathing natural through your nose if you can. So one hand on top of the other, Vajrasana. Breathing deep, breathing natural, breathing honest. Maybe there's a bit of rolling. There's expressiveness in the breath. There's all of that being somebody, going somewhere stuff. Peripheral to the center. Remember, the center is emptiness itself. Okay, release, nice and easy. And come into Gomukhasana, so legs over to one side. You can sit on a block, and if you find it useful, and top leg over the top of the bottom leg. A bit of a lift and a shift, maybe a few tuning in adjustments. It's really nice to think of the body as the radio dial by which you tune into radio yoga. In other words, radio strength, radio integration. When there's radio yoga, there's non-duality. There's nothing on the outside as opposed to the inside. So this is basic Yogacara philosophy, which is means the way of yoga. And it's a branch of a particular school of Buddhism called the Mahayana. As we're moving around, we're looking for sensations that are so rich that the mind can't really hold on to them in terms of a descriptive or an adjective of any kind. So movements that evoke breath release, that's what we're looking for. Movements that evoke breath release. Of course, you can be sitting on blocks if you need to. Hands can be on the floor or on the leg if you prefer, or in prayer position if you prefer. Each pose absorbs in its own time. Yeah, so a really good yoga practice, you just stay in the pose until everything's integrated, until nothing is doing anything other than this. In other words, resistances begin to fade, and whether they be on the mental plane, respiratory plane, physical plane, of course they are all of those, but we might just experiencing them on one of those. Okay, so good. This Gomukhasana, but we'll come out because we've got the other side to do. So we move out gently, stretch your legs out in Dandasana. Give yourself a rub down everywhere. Make sure, don't miss any part of the body at all, except if you're wearing a microphone. Try not to rub that bit of the body. And then legs over to the other side of your body when you're ready. Top leg up and over the bottom leg again, moving in fiber by fiber, adjusting and readjusting like a
a big radio dial, and you're tuning into the vibration of now, the way things are, which is beyond thinking. So it's like pure awareness, called sati in Pali or smriti in Sanskrit. With the addition of sapajanya, this sort of recognition of, for example, the impermanence. It's like impermanence or, change. So again, we tune in until everything resonates at the same frequency. Often at first we have several frequencies flying off in different directions, just like a radio that's picking up several frequencies, and you can't hear any one. Maybe you hear a little bit of one, a little bit of another frequency, and then you tune it in. And by tuning in, you tune out. So you tune in to the crisp, clear, like Lama Yeshe used to talk about, the mind to be crisp and clear. I think he actually said clean, clear. So clean, clear. Means focused, means breath focused. Flashbacks to what seemed like it was the eternal present. Back in the old classes I taught many years ago, sitting for very long periods of time in Gomukasana, until you get that resolve, that is the right way to go about it. But because everyone's different, it's hard to gauge that for a class. So we'll all come out gently, nice and easily. And we're going to stretch our legs out to a wide stride position. Now, it's worth having a partika at this point, a yoga belt, in other words. And we're going to stretch the legs out for upavishta konasana, or seated angle pose. Kona, easy to remember by remembering corner. You want the same angle. You can sit on a block, as some of you know. If you are sitting on the block, the corner of the block faces forwards and just protrudes in front of the pubis. This is not the widest stride that one can take in yoga. It might be the widest stride that one can take, but in yoga we also have samakonasana, which is essentially the box splits. Take your patta, lift your body and turn it so that you face towards one leg or the other, and then take your patta around the foot. Breathe through your nose, sit tall, upright. Even means, not instantly, but you tune in on evenness over however long, and evenness or equality, when things are equanimous. And then nothing is pulling any more than anything else. That's the same as emptiness. Equanimous, it's the same as emptiness. When we hear about it originally we find it, of course, in Buddhism, but it also gets adopted in various other traditions, including Shaivism, particularly the Kaula tradition, the tradition that worships Kali. Breath, 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 balance, rebalance. It's the name of the new studio. It's an old new studio, Brighton. Starting a new class there actually on Monday. It's an advert, quick advert, 7:30 a.m. What am I doing to myself? If you want to lean forwards, if it's something that causes shedding through the breath, shedding of karmic particles, a sort of melting, we call it in yoga, sometimes done by laya yoga, means melting yoga.
And you come to wherever you come to. But it's breath, 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 calmness, breath, breath. Like that. Breath, breath, breath. Calmness, breath, breath. It doesn't matter how far you extend, it matters how free your breath is. Okay. Groovy, isn't it? As hippies might say. We're going to turn towards the other leg. Similarly, move with calmness. Bring your hatha around your foot. Breathe through your nose. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Spinal column upright. Calm brain. Relaxed temples. So balance takes time and rebalance. And that's just tuning. That's just tuning, like the radio metaphor. It's just tuning. That's all it is. The option is there if the icha, or the urge, the Sanskrit word icha, spelled I-C-C-H-A, icha. The option is there to melt forwards, but it has one aim in mind, that is shedding of karmic particles by challenging whatever the body mind has taken hold of. So it's got to be with the breath. That's basically what it. So any melting is just that, it's melting. And it's psychophysical. There is no melting of the body in the true sense without the melting of the mind. Delicious. I hope you find it delicious too. Bring yourself up nice and easy, and bring your legs, hopefully you can bring them back together. We're going to bring them together in Baddha Konasana now. It is useful for some people to sit on blocks for Baddha Konasana, and I think it's universally useful for everyone to stretch the psoas up. And the way you do that is to lift, if you can. Lift your bum off the floor, use your hands. If that's tricky, you can use blocks. Obviously, arm length relative to torso length makes a difference. So my bum's off the floor, which is why I'm sort of floating around. But the purpose is this big old stretch from the inner groin across the pubis, right the way up through the back. And I only want to land maintaining as much of that length as I possibly can. So having the hands on the floor is really useful for keeping that length in the psoas. If you want, you can hold your feet, or you can use a belt around the feet if it makes you close your chest. Again, arm length relative to torso length makes a difference. So if you've got shorter arms relative to your torso, which is long, then reaching your feet might close your chest. So that's what the belt's for. Breathe through your nose. Imagine a melting the inner thighs, the adductors, and any sort of self-construct that the mind takes hold of. So like Satkaya Drishti, it's this self-construct. You can really melt it by letting the pelvis relax, letting the whole pelvic area relax,
Like, when we're being someone, when we're uncertain, then we tend to be tense around the pelvic area, around the buttocks, in the genital area. The whole body can mirror this sense of rebuffing the world. In yoga, because we're interested in finding the substratum layer of truth, we let go, at least temporarily, of that rebuttal and simply open, like a closed fist becomes an open palm. The inner thigh muscles melt from the pubis out. There's a softness with the breath and the hamstrings from the sitting bones through. Again, each and every one of these poses is a door to the infinite. So it's very, very tempting to stay, keep breathing into it, but we're going to come slowly and calmly, if we can, out of that pose. We're going to extend our legs out in front of us and draw the butterflies out and back. We're going to come into Janu Shirshasana. So if you know that you would benefit from a block, fine, but turn it skeweth so that the foot you're going to draw back, the block on that side is also drawn back a little bit to make room for the foot. Again, you've got your pata, if you need it, your belt. You're going to take either leg, because we're going to do both anyway, and draw the leg back. The heel can either come somewhere on its own thigh, on the opposite thigh, or you can point your knee back and the heel can come onto the top of its own thigh. That sort of twists the body, meaning that then when you turn, you get a deeper stretch on the psoas. Take it slow, make sure none of the knee ligaments get pulled. Any sort of sudden movement when the knee is twisted like that can pull the muscles and the tendons and can cause inflammation. So the skill is to move very, very slowly. You can use your belt, and I've compared it so many times to, a boat tied up, and that it would be, in particular, a canoe. It would be much better to untie it before paddling. So you untie it by releasing the back leg and everything that's connected with gripping in the back leg, which is going to be the breath and the mind and any sense of upādāna, any sense of reaching out. And just take as long as it takes, forget about time and just meditate. Always soft inside the knee joint of the back leg, soft inside the knee joint. And it's a really good pose to spend a bit of time, but so that we're even on both sides. We'll do the other side. I know at least one of you has to go at 6, so I want to make sure that everyone is to do both sides of that pose. Again, there's the option to point the knee backwards, or it can come somewhere along its own thigh. Again, twisting and extending and releasing. The pata can be placed around the foot optionally. Melting. Layanam. So the stem of the word is laya, L-A-Y-A. Layanam is the nominative singular, subject of the sentence in the singular.
Again, the canoe image, untying up the canoe and you paddle off easy. Okay, coming up nice and calm when you're ready. We're going to bring ourselves onto our backs next with our hands underneath the head. So that's simple. Scoot the buttocks under, take 3 deep breaths with some sigh-like exhales. So natural deep breaths, lower back settled and released, observing the naturalness or selflessness of release. Nobody does it. Float the feet up when you're ready. Hopefully your lower back will just kind of soften into the floor as the floor presses into the back. The back yields to the floor. It yields. And with it, of course, everything that the breath is part of, the body is part of, rather, that is the breath, the mind, everything. We're going to lift up, curl up. Now your hands can be lower or higher. It's up to you. I like to lift the pelvis high. I know that not everyone can lift the pelvis, but I do know that anyone who tries to lift the pelvis is activating the same muscles, even if it doesn't come up off the floor. Perfectly fine. It's the muscles that we want to impress upon. Okay, release your head, release the feet. Take a really deep breath in and out. Jaw relaxed, eyes relaxed, brain relaxed, throat relaxed, tongue relaxed. Soft as you can be. Notice for a moment if one side feels like it has more contact with the floor than the other. No problem either way, just notice. Breathe naturally, breathe easily. Release your hands from behind your head and take your belt, your pata. We're going to bring that around the front of our shins with the feet about hip width apart or a little less. Walk down the pata, strongly walking down so that you actually feel your shoulders and collarbones are pulled down away from the skull. And that's something really good to breathe into. Really isolates where there's little habituations, or we can even call them injuries. There's a correlation between habituation and injury. It's worth just breathing into that, any irregularities. Then we're going to tone the tummy in a wave. So it draws in and the ribs lift up. And then we lift up the pelvis, moving at will, left, right, forwards, backwards. And eventually, when calm and really in the body, we can twist the upper arms out. So you twist the belt, twist it so your upper arms turn out away from the collarbones. And that gives us a really great opportunity to open the chest. And there's thousands of micro adjustments you could pay attention to. You could pay attention to the pelvic floor, the buoyancy, the steadiness, the repetition of the support. You could pay attention to pressing the back of the thighs upwards and feeling the hamstrings and gluteal muscles. The front thighs are also active as they're pulling on the knees towards the pelvis. So in this way, the shins hit back. And as the shins gently hit back within the context of the breath, we press down and lift up. Come down calmly, internally rotating that pata, that strap. Let the shoulder blades move away from each other. Down you come to the floor. I'd love to hear you take a really deep breath, maybe a sigh or two. Come on, let's let go. Yeah, it's time to let go. Whatever the mind has taken hold of. Similarly, we're going to repeat. So when you're ready, lightly tone the tummy, draw it in, lift the chest, and lift up. And again, feel free to move spontaneously. But let's be clear that spontaneous movement isn't willy-nilly. Spontaneous movement is purpose for absorption. We're actually gathering, using movement to sort of mop up waifs and strays. It's a bit like a magnet gathering iron filings. We're sort of gathering, pulling everything together. If you want and if you're ready, twist the belt as you open up higher. You should hopefully in that action come more to the top of the shoulders and less on the shoulder blades. The relationship between the tummy and the pelvic floor. The steadiness, it's not a muscular gripping, it's an energetic support or reminder. It's like a nudging, reminding. Stay in there, it says. Stay in the central channel. So by all means, stay on concentrating on that aspect. Or if you want to add others, then you can feel how, as you lift, the gluteal muscles and hamstrings, again, you can really feel them, are active. And then the quadriceps pulling at the kneecaps gently. Pull the shins back, and as the shins go back, you press down and breathe more deeply so you can really feel the quads in these kind of positions. Front thighs. Come down slowly, internally rotating. Those shoulder blades draw away from each other. Let go of the belt. Let's breathe deep. Come on, let's do it together. Let's have a few. Closed fist becomes an open palm. A beautiful blue night lotus, an utpala, rises up out of the water on a full moon night and opens its flower head and fills the air with its beautiful fragrances, the whole of the atmosphere. This is the beautiful one of the utpala. Great. Now, when you're ready, take the pata, take both feet into the pata and raise the legs up. This Urdhva Prasrita Padasana. Don't hold the breath. Let go of tensions you don't need to hold on to, like tensions in the neck, tensions in the lumbar, tensions in the lower back, generally. Tensions in the temporal lobes of the brain. So just letting them soften. It's really, really, wonderful pose. Urdhva Prasrita Padasana. Jaw soft, neck soft, eyes soft, brain soft. I wonder if we could nudge our heels into the belt a little bit more without holding the breath. I wonder if, as we nudge the heels, we could imagine and feel the front thigh muscles gathering, quadriceps evenly. Maybe you've got one aspect of the quadriceps that feels like it is more active than another. Maybe you feel the big toe side of your knees, as it were. There's more action, or more laterally, or maybe it's more centrally. Don't hold your breath. See if you can get all those aspects, those three aspects, the medial, the lateral, and the one in between, to engage more. Great. It's a good one to stay, I think. Again, it's a really good one to stay. But we're going to release, bring the feet back down to the floor, put the pata to one side, take a deep breath in and, of course, out, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 of those, actually. So really going with the breath, really going with the breath, really going with the breath, and then raise up one leg, doesn't matter which one, dorsiplantar flex the foot. You can add scrunching and unscrunching of the toes. You can add circling if you want. It's about life, isn't it? It's about energy. It's about flow, which happens in the breath as well as the body. If it happens anywhere, it happens everywhere. Heel in, toes out, cross that leg over the other one, lift the foot that's on the floor, off the floor, plunge through, interlace, and roll around. So you roll left, you roll right, you look for sensations that are, well, you know, ungraspable. Look for sensations that make it impossible to grasp because of their richness. Head might move, body might move, or maybe you find a position that feels good. Okay, wonderful. Pose, Supta, Suchirandrasana. We've got the other leg to do, but let's have a little pause for breath. And I mean deep breath, of course, really spontaneous, natural, open, given. It's beautiful, actually. When you're ready, raise up the other leg. Similarly, let's go for dorsiplantar flexion, circling, half circling, bit of toes scrunching, anything. It's about life. Again, to get ourselves off the fence, which we easily slip onto, being the observer, you know, being somebody on the outside. But we have this teaching, which is the Yogacara teaching. It doesn't originate purely in the Yogacara tradition of the way of yoga, but we find it really emphasized there. And it is quite simply that it basically says to us, no, just experience. Like we're doing something and it's saying, no, not that. Experience only. In other words, no, not that making somebody who's having the experience, but just experience only, including the self-construct. When you're ready, heel in, toes out, cross that leg over, plunge through, and again, roll about. See if you can find particularly juicy sensations. So jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft. So the polarity between experience and experiencer melt. That's kind of what is melting. It's borderlines that melt between experience and experiencer. You'd say between subject and object. Nice and easy. When you're ready, if you're ready, it's good to stay longer actually, but if you're ready, release, roll over onto your side so that you face, well, maybe you face the camera, it depends how you set up there. Extend the bottom rib lots of times, so you're really extending the intercostal muscles. Obviously, costal, well, maybe not obvious, but costal means ribs. And there are 3 layers of the intercostals: external, internal, and innermost. The last 2 do the same thing as each other. But these are accessory muscles in respiration. They help us breathe. And so their fluidity is important, so that's why we stretch them. Then a bit of rolling forwards and backwards, side to side. I don't remember if I mentioned it, but if you're finding it uncomfortable to position your head like this, you can extend your arm and put a blanket between your head and arm. I don't think I mentioned that. Breath, 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 disappear, fall in love. Pick that top leg up and play with it between the horizontal and vertical planes with a view to release the inner thigh. Hello, pussycat. Cats come in. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Really release the adductor muscles, which is releasing the mind. Everything is everything. So deep and natural breath. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft. Looser, looser, looser. And then if you want, you can reach through, hold your big toe. It's an option. Yeah, it is an option. You're right. You're right, pussycat. And then there's the option to extend the leg if you want. Breathing through the nose. Jaw soft. Brain soft. It makes a fascinating object for a cat to stare at, it seems. Is that fascinating? Stare at the toe. Natural breath. Jaw soft. Enjoy, enjoyment. Enjoyment. Good boy. Sorry, I'm saying good boy to the cat, not to you, obviously. When you're ready, bringing the leg back down, nice and calm. Bringing yourself up from the side. Swinging round to the other side with the same pose. Not sure whether the cat will join me on this side or not. Extending the bottom ribs several times. And then supporting the head in one of the two ways I mentioned. And then a bit of rolling. The cat's name, in case you're interested, is Zaphod, Beeblebrox, the galactic president, but no one calls him that. I call him Zaphod. A lot of people call him Zaffy. Sometimes people like to know about the names of cats. Rolling forwards and backwards. Look for sensations that are juicy. Do make sure those ribs are nice and open. You might want a reiterative stretch there. And then when you're ready, top leg comes up and we play between the vertical and horizontal planes with this view to really loosen up the inner thigh. It's really lovely, actually. So it's psychophysical, respiratory, breath-centered release. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft. And if you want, you can reach the big toe and take hold of it and extend optionally. You don't have to, but sometimes it feels nice to. And nice means releasing the breath. We always, by nice or good or enjoyable, it should have a breath release component. Calm, calm, breath, calm. Infinite release until harmony, union, yoga. Okay, really good. Down you come. Knees up, come up, and extend your legs out. Now you might want a block here. I'll get one so that you can see where to place it. And you might want a pata as well, a yoga strap. We're going to tie the pata around, in my case, I'm tying it around the foot furthest away from you. If your screen was set up the same as mine, then you'd tie it around the foot furthest away from me so that in a moment when we come into the pose. And you'll be able to see me still, and I'll be able to see you still. So the foot furthest away from the screen. Then you pull the other leg back, and as promised, I've turned to face towards you. So that's really wonderful open stretch, and a wonderful preparatory, we could say, or it's the whole thing for Parivrita Janu Shirshasana. The block or blocks, could be more than one, can be placed down there. And then we turn away from our leg, our straight leg rather. Breathe through the nose and soften any tension. Melt any gripping, any upādāna, any reaching out. You know, that sense of reaching out, it can be driven by fear. It can be driven by lack of confidence. It can be driven by craving. It can be driven by aversion. This reaching out. Now, it may be that things melt as we breathe, and as we turn, we can lean. But we're melting all the time. It would be crazy to move in without letting go. It's like my very old metaphor of the NCP car park. Crazy to keep letting cars in if you're not letting any cars out. You're soon going to get clogged up and congested. So as you move towards your straight leg, still turning towards the bent leg, equal priority to letting go. Otherwise, it's like the NCP car park, you're just letting people in and not letting anyone out. It's going to lead to problems. Again, you might get to a point where you bring your elbow onto the block or blocks, and that's usually a very good stretch for everybody concerned. You can rest your head like I am on my arm, and you know, if we get this far, it's likely that everything you could possibly need to happen in terms of invitation to release is there. It may be that you hold the belt, you know, big toe side of the belt. But again, the emphasis is, you know, melting as you move. Don't move without proportionate release. So I'm just giving you all this sort of stations. You can hold the other side of the belt and turn the body towards the ceiling. That's another option. Breath-centered option. I'm just going to reiterate, you don't move without melting. They go together, melting and moving. Lovely, actually. Parivrita Janu Shirshasana. Really wonderful if you focus on the melting. Obviously, we're going to do the same thing, nice and calm as we come up. And I'm going to turn around simply so I can still face the screen. That's an option for you if that works out for you. You don't have to, because now you know what you're doing in terms of the way it looks. Obviously, the belt goes around the other foot. You might not use the belt at all, so that's fine as well. Breathing through your nose nice and easy. You take your leg back. And because I turned around, I'm still facing you, but I'm doing my other leg. Again, you can put a block or two on the inner thigh if you want to. That's optional. And don't hold the breath. Let it be natural. Let it be easeful. Let it be calm. Let it be meditative. Melting as you move. The metaphors we've given, the NCP car park, the canoe paddling when it's still tied up. So turn towards your bent leg. Breathe and melt. Doesn't matter how long. We're not trying to get anywhere within any fixed time. All we're trying to do is isolate, gripping, grasping, grabbing, let it come up and out, and then move into the space that it creates. So let cars out of the NCP car park, and then as they go out, new ones can come in. Sorry about the metaphor, it's not very pretty. It's sort of accurate. So if there's release, which you feel in your breath, is unequivocally a breath-centered sensation, then you move into the space. If cars are going out, cars can come in. It takes a high degree of satya, of honesty, actually. We're still facing, or got that feeling that we're facing towards the bent leg. You can bring your elbow down, that's usually enough, onto the blocks. Or you can hold the belt. We're emphatically letting go as we move in, rather than just, bowing ahead. You can, the stations aren't better the further you go along, but I offer them because people have a different range of motion. It's not about, we're not prioritizing a wider range of motion and saying that's more yogic. We're not saying that at all. Just saying if you've got a wider range of motion, this one might stimulate release. For less wide range of motion, maybe not holding both sides of the strap is the one for you. Universally, breath, isn't it? Universally, breath. So delicious. All the poses tonight, delicious. Come up calmly, just stay with that. I hope you feel the same way I do. We're going to gently take ourselves out of that pose, put everything we need to put to one side. We're going to come up into Adho Mukha Svanasana just to stretch out the legs and the spine. So the downward facing dog. Get that adhesion, really get the palms to melt into the mat. It wasn't that long ago that I had the realization after many years of complaining about various mats that it was down to me, if I didn't want to slip, to intend not to slip. This sankalpa, intention. So breath, extension, armpits open, breathing deep. Inner armpit, outer armpit, under armpit. Heels back, thighs up. It's a really marvelous sensation to lift the thighs up. Okay, everyone, coming down. Regular kneeling, you can put a block, you should put a block there if you find it useful. One hand on top of the other, breathe through your nose if you can. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Sometimes a little movement can melt any little gripping, any little upādāna. We're going to send an aum up through the central channel. So the more physical you can make it, the more you can sort of feel it move through the physical body, the more effective it will be at defining the central channel, flagging it, clearing it, and concentrating us on it. So when we're ready, down to the pelvic floor. Natural breaths. Jaw soft, brain soft, throat soft, tongue soft, eyes soft, shoulders soft. Bum really settles. We're going to bring ourselves onto our backs real calm for a reasonable length shavasana. Make sure you're warm, make sure your position is comfortable. As ever, the shoulder blades should be scooted under.
And as I said, we should make sure we're really warm, comfortable. It's a position where we focus, of course, on giving. And that applies universally, giving whatever there is to give. Obviously, there's weight that can be given. There's views and opinions and ideas and ideals that can be given. The breath can be given. And the body itself can be given. The body itself, you can give the body to the breath. You're ready, take an extra deep breath and let go, whatever the mind has taken hold of. Allow a little movement if you're coming up. And now you don't have to, of course, you can lay longer as long as you have. If you want to come up now, then Bit of movement of the toes and the fingers, the arms and the legs. Maybe some natural and selfless stretches. And after bending the legs, we'll roll onto one side and then the other. Really comfortable, really peaceful. Once we spend a bit of time on both sides, then we'll bring ourselves up very calmly from the side, no rush, of course. Green Tara to magnify our intentions. May any benefit that we've gained in our acting this way go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings. Om. There you go. She lit up green. Thank you so much for coming along. Really appreciate your time, and I look forward to seeing you as soon as possible. Keep checking the Vajrasattva website for all the events coming up in the school, and my own website for all my events coming up. It's all happening. That's an advert, I suppose. Anyway, thanks for coming. Really good to see you.
Bye.
Bye, gang. Bless you. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Bye.